you are doing everything right and it is not working anymore. The strategies that built your career now feel hollow when you execute them. The goals that once pulled you out of bed now sit on your list like obligations rather than aspirations. You have achieved things, real things, things other people respect, and the achievement has left you emptier than the striving ever did. Something has shifted, not in your circumstances, in you. As if you aged into a body that no longer fits the life you built, and now you are walking around in clothes designed for someone you used to be. You are not lazy. You are not depressed exactly. You are something harder to name. You are stuck in a stage you have outgrown, still following rules that no longer apply, wondering why everything feels like pushing against a door that used to open easily. There is a particular kind of confusion that arrives in the middle of life, and it masquerades as crisis when it is actually transition. You question your marriage, your career, your choices, not because they were wrong, but because they were made by a different person. The you who chose this path was solving problems you no longer have. The you who built this life was running from fears you have since outgrown. And now you are standing in the monument to that younger self's survival strategy. And the monument has become a maze you cannot escape. You keep trying to fix it from inside the same framework that built it. More achievement, more optimization, more of what worked before. But the door does not open because the door is not stuck. The door leads to a room you are finished with, and no amount of pushing will make a completed stage feel like home. You have done what you were supposed to do, and nobody told you there would be more. School, career, relationship, family. You checked the boxes in order, followed the sequence, built the life that the sequence promised would satisfy you. And now you are at the end of the sequence, and there is no next box to check, and the satisfaction did not arrive with the final check mark. You feel betrayed by the culture that sold you the sequence, by the people who seem fulfilled by following it, by yourself, for believing something so simple could answer something so complex. The stuck feeling is not that you have failed. It is that you have succeeded at the wrong game, a game that was only supposed to be the first half, and you did not know there was a second half, and no one told you the rules would change completely. Jung observed that human life is not one continuous journey, but a series of distinct stages, each with its own tasks, its own psychology, its own definition of what it means to succeed. The tragedy he witnessed in his patients, and the tragedy you may be living right now, was people trying to solve the problems of one stage with the tools of another. Like using a hammer to thread a needle. Like bringing a warrior's mindset to a situation that requires surrender. The tools are not wrong. They are misapplied. And the frustration of misapplication feels like personal failure when it is actually developmental confusion. You are not broken. You are in transition. But transitions that are not recognized cannot be navigated, and you have been lost in one for longer than you want to admit. The first stage of life is about emergence. The child learns to become a distinct self, separate from parents, separate from the undifferentiated wholeness of infancy. They learn to say, I. They learn where they end and others begin. They learn that they have a will, preferences, a self that exists independent of the adults who created them. The task is to become someone. Failure at this stage produces adults who never fully form, who cannot separate their desires from the desires of others, who remain psychologically fused with parents long after leaving home. The second stage is about expansion. The newly emerged self must now build something in the world. Career, relationships, status, achievement, the acquisition of power, resources, identity. This is the stage our culture understands best because our culture is essentially a machine for producing successful second-stage adults. Schools credential you for work. Industries convert your labor into status. Social media quantifies your impact. Everything is designed to support this expansion, to help you become someone who matters. The task here is to build an ego strong enough to meet the world's demands. And most of what you were taught about success applies here and only here. The third stage is where your life currently feels like it is falling apart, because the third stage asks you to do the opposite of everything that worked in the second. The second stage built the ego. The third stage asks you to see through it. The second stage accumulated. The third stage asks you to release. The second stage asked who you could become. The third stage asks who you were before you became anything at all. This is the reversal that strikes in midlife, not because you have failed, but because you have succeeded so completely at stage 2 that stage 3 feels like destruction. Everything you built, everything you achieved, everything you used to define yourself. The third stage asks you to hold it loosely, to let your grip relax, to discover that you are not your accomplishments, your roles, your accumulated identity. This is why you feel stuck. You are trying to solve a stage 3 problem with stage 2 tools. You are trying to achieve your way out of a crisis that is asking you to question achievement itself. You are trying to accumulate more meaning when the task is to discover that meaning was never something you could accumulate. The door does not open because you are pushing on a wall. The actual door is behind you, leading not forward into more accomplishment, but downward into depth, inward into the parts of yourself you abandon to become successful. The fourth stage, for those who complete the third, is integration, the return to the world with what you discovered in the descent. This is the elder who has stopped striving, not because they have given up, but because they have found something that striving could never provide. They hold their achievements lightly, their failures lightly, their identity lightly. They are no longer trying to become someone, because they have discovered who they already are beneath all the becoming. This stage is rare. Most people never complete the third. They get stuck in the crisis, grasping for old solutions, refusing the surrender that the transition requires. They grow old without growing deep. You are being asked to die, not physically, psychologically. The self that carried you this far cannot carry you further. It was a vehicle, not a destination. It was scaffolding for a building that is now complete, and the scaffolding must come down for the building to be seen. This feels like loss because it is loss. You will lose the identity you spent decades constructing. You will lose the certainties that gave you direction. You will lose the sense that you know who you are and what your life is for. But in the losing, something else is found. Something that was there before the building started. Something that will remain after the building crumbles. The feeling of stuckness is not the problem. It is the invitation. The question is whether you will accept it or spend the rest of your life pushing on a wall, wondering why the door will not open. The door is behind you, and it has been open this whole time.